Hello everybody, my name is Damien Oliver. Welcome back to my channel. Now, again, we're going to be playing our Feed the Beast Infinity Evolved pack here. Last time we kind of went over a couple of things in alchemy as far as Thaumcraft is concerned. And today I kind of wanted to go over a couple other things. But first I wanted to apologize for not having an episode out yesterday or last Friday. We ran into some technical issues on my side, and those plus real life made it a little bit difficult to create a video. In fact, I did make one, but the technical issues kind of wiped out the audio in it, and I'm not entirely sure why that happened. But I think I got it fixed. I hope. But like I said, last time we went over Thaumcraft's alchemy, and today I'm hoping to go over a couple ways of improving it with you. Like I said, I've already made a video about this, but I'm gonna have to go over it again real quick with you guys to kind of catch you guys back up. So, that being said, I said that I needed a house time and time again, and I finally made one. Admittedly, right now it doesn't look all that great. I don't have a whole lot of building material blocks, or at least not the ones I would like. But I did see Captain America over the weekend, and this was vaguely inspired by the house that Tony Stark had in the Iron Man movies 1, 2, and 3. There is a couple floors to it, and obviously there's a lot of room here, so this is still very much work in progress. But as you can see here, I'm using a lot of covers. The covers are very simply made using a saw. There are a couple of different versions of them. Each one, I think, really is only a matter of durability. Iron has more durability than stone, diamond has more durability than iron, and so on and so forth. They're not terribly hard to make in vanilla. Even in this one, they're not particularly hard to make. They just require stone rods and iron sticks. So, like I said, not hard to make by any means. And with Project Red, which it's compatible with, and with the Thinker's Construct, there are a couple of variations to it. But basically, you just place a block in your inventory or in your crafting unit with a saw, and it'll cut it down to the pieces. Then you cut that down, then you cut that down, so on and so forth. That's how I made both the covers that are part of the counter here, as well as all the covers that are part of the ceiling here. And it's also how I made these glowstone nooks. One glowstone block gets cut down into about 32 nooks, and all of these are effectively one full block of glowstone and provide light as such. So there's that. You've also already seen that I have the backpack from Project Red, which I think so is the... No, I guess the saws are from Forge Multi-Block, sorry. There are some from Project Red, but the main ones is from Forge Multi-Block. And the backpack is pretty simple to make. It's really all it is a bunch of string, which, as I told you, we now effectively have an infinite amount thanks to our cotton fields. However, I got to admit that took up a pretty good chunk of it, really. But I also made a kitchen over here. Most of this you've already seen. The only new parts to this is the sink, which acts as infinite water source, as well as a way to get rid of water if you have an excess amount. The cooking oven here looks really complicated, but really isn't. It's a kind of like your basic furnace, except for it can cook multiple things at once. The top slots up here are all input slots, so you can put your like beef in one, chicken in another, and fish in one, or whatever the case might be. This here is obviously the fuel slot. It can cook up to 9 items at once, and while these slots can hold stacks, these ones only hold a single item, and then it outputs over here again in terms of stacks. I believe you can automate it so things come into the top and leave through the side, but I'm not entirely positive on that. These slots over here, on the other hand, are purely cosmetic. As you can see, they are kind of shaped as the different things that we have in them right now. However, they don't have to be put in their correct slots. All it really does is mess with the way that they show up there. See? In the same way, we have the tool racks, which I think you can just right-click and, just right-click and get stuff off of them, or put them back on there. These are also part of the multi-block for cooking the blockhead. So if I come over here to look at the cooking table will be able to see not only the oven and the sink, but also all the tools that are on the oven and on the tool racks. So see how that says bakeware? Actually, I think bakeware is the one that I don't have yet. There we go. The pot there, I can craft that already. In fact, I might. That's actually not a bad source of food. Yeah, maybe later. I still do have the pressers here. The pressers do not have anything to do with the cooking for blockheads, so I'm afraid it doesn't matter if they connect or not. So I kind of separated them just for appearance sake. Also set up a table. Like I said, this is kind of going to be my home, so I'm hoping to decorate this a little bit more. But down here, I might also have something of a workshop or something like that. We'll have to see. Now, coming back up here, one of the other things I've made recently are these over here. With everybody being based on solar power, I decided I should probably join the group because, frankly, the water mills take up a lot of room, and while fairly cheap to make, all things considered, they don't provide a whole lot of power compared to some other things. Now, these are redstone solar panels, and they are pretty simple to make. They also work like most TE machines will. So you can right-click or shift right-click with a wrench and get it to pop off, etc. But oops, sorry, wrong button. Like I said, they're pretty easy to make. The only problem is it takes a couple of steps. First of all, you need steel nuggets for these, which also accepts refined iron nuggets somewhere there. And they're or dictionary, so refined iron or steel, either way. Some redstone, and then it requires some photovoltaic cells. I may have mispronounced that, and a solar core. The solar core is again pretty easy. You just need lead nuggets and iron. And the cells are just just glass here, or glass panes, and some iron with some lactine, which, if you remember correctly, we get from sipping sand. So, not that hard, all things considered. The only problem is it's a lot of steps because you got steel ingots there, you got lead ingots there, and you got iron ingots and glass panes there. So you got a lot of things that are broken down. like I said, not terribly hard, but it'll definitely be better once I have some sort of automated crafting process going. Especially as these can be upgraded quite easily, actually. The way this works is you got one solar panel here, that's a redstone, and that generates 1 RF per tick and holds a capacity of 1000. On the other hand, the next one up is the harden, and that is made out of 8 of the solar panels with the hardened core, which again is not hard to make. It's just an upgrade of the leadstone one, really. And that generates 8 RF per tick and has a capacity of 8000. So really, making one of these, you are not losing anything besides, you know, what's part of the hardened core, I suppose. But you compact 8 cells into one, and that process is pretty much the same all the way up. And as it multiplies by 8 each time, the ultimate ones generate and hold a considerable amount of power. That just one of those would completely blow all of our water generators out of the water. And in fact, heck, just this one would blow all of our water generators out of the water. That right there is about half of all of our water generators, and only in one space. So you can see why this is something we might want to start going for. The only downside is they only generate power while the sun is out. Now, while I was in that menu, you might have noticed it started raining. Somebody is really far in the mod pack already, which is not terribly surprising. I'm going pretty slow. But they just used an automated way of switching. They have an automated way of switching night to day, and another automated way of changing rainy days into sunny days using Draconic Evolution. So, there's that. Now, like I said, these do store 1000 RF per tick, but as you can see, these are all empty despite it being day. That's because they're constantly draining. And while this may look like an ordinary floor, if I break this, I actually have, I need to find a better way of breaking that actually. I actually have a redstone flux stock going across the floor of this, this floor, so that eventually I'll be able to power the entire floor here, and possibly the floor below it, depending if I need to hook something to the ceiling. But they're, again, using the covers. These ones are slightly different. Actually, I think I have one in my backpack here I can show you. Yeah, these are slightly different because they need a structure duct and whatever you want the texture to be. That makes 6 of them. The structure duct is just 2 iron ingots and a lead nugget. And that makes 6 of those. So it's a real simple recipe. This with the texture blocks makes a total of 36 different covers, and the covers work great for concealing things, but also if you place something on top of it, stuff that provides power will go through it to the cable below it already, and then will still show the cover when you pop whatever it is back off. And all of them are like that. And I have the wire basically going all the way over through here into my bedroom, which is still barely furnished, but I'll work on that. Coming across here, and right now this device is the only thing it's powering. So it's getting about 4 RF per tick while it charges this thing here. The heating coil is kind of nice because it acts like a burnable source of fuel. I'm not entirely sure how much power it needs. Actually, let's see here. Basically, it consumes power to act like a wood plank. Give me a second here. Yeah, the wiki doesn't say. Sorry, guys. Well, it shouldn't be too hard to test, I suppose. So right now this has about 1016, and if I take something, yeah, sure, why not? $1,016, and okay, so about every 15,000 acts as though I just put a piece of wooden planks in there. They have the same burn time, etc., which means that I can use that to really help with the whole Thaumcraft process here. Now, you will notice that it has something of an odd setup here because this pipe does not connect. It wants to, it really does, it just can't, because the Illuminatic here has this wooden piece here in the front, and that shows us that's mainly used for a label, really, and because of that the pipes can't connect to it. However, what I found you can do is you can right click with your wand to change the orientation. So this process kind of helps us, you know, sort out things with just one Illuminatic. Whereas normally for, you know, something with 3 aspects like those shards would have, I would need to have probably another Illuminatic branching off in another direction or something. But there are better ways of doing that. So, in all honesty, I'm going to change this setup because this is a little cramped for this one right here, which I didn't think of when I made it. But it's basically the same thing as a crucible. In order to do this, you have to go under the alchemy tab here, and once you have everything, it's under automated alchemy. Well, actually, what you need to create is these alchemical constructs, and that's actually under Essentia Distillation, even though Essentia Distillation doesn't really use them. So I'm not entirely sure why that page is there. But if we return back to automated alchemy, what you do is we make 2 of these alchemical constructs and place them on top of a crucible, and then we just right click on them with a wand with 30 Ordo, 30 water, and 15 fire. I will point out that the process of making both of the alchemical constructs actually left my wand empty of Ordo and water. So I actually had to put a break in the other video and then go recharge my wand, and that took over almost 2 hours to fill back up. So I'm going to definitely need to find a better way of filling up my wand. But that being said, the process is pretty simple. You just take something like actually there is something I wanted to try, so I might as well try it with you guys here. Yeah, that'll work. Interesting. Okay, so the process here is pretty simple. Basically, what needs to happen is you put in your catalyst of choice, which I'm actually going to switch back to a mana ingot. This is not the vanilla old recipe, by the way. You used to just take iron to make thaumium, but with, you know, Beat the Beast Infinity, or with rather Infinity Evolved, we now need a mana steel ingot in order to make it. But anyways, you just put in your catalyst of choice, and it gives you possible recipes. Like you saw, the other one had 2 possible recipes with zombie flesh. Then you just right click on the one you want, and then it will lock that one into place. And what happens then is if you have a jar with enough Essentia involved, it's going to suck up the Essentia and just shoot the item out at you. It will also display what it has here, or what it's making here, so it's pretty easy to tell what's going on. Now there is an upgrade to this, which is under the same tab here, and that is a mnemonic matrix. It's not a hard recipe. I think this is in fact vanilla, but basically what it is right now I can only have one object locked into place right now. What I can do with the mnemonic matrix, as you can see, the construct here actually has 6 different places where we can put in pipes for essentia. The mnemonic matrix will take up one of these slots basically and allow me to lock in 2 other recipes. So then whenever I provide the correct catalyst, it will automatically choose the recipes for that and suck the necessary essentia if available. This can be kind of useful for your commonly used items. For example, thaumium ingots, for example, they only need one of these openings to have essentia, so that's a good option. Probably the same thing with the magic tallow, and maybe something like nitro or something like that. You could also use it for a couple other things, like I don't know, balance shards, for example. Balance shards tend to be a bit of a pain, really, though you don't really need a matrix for that. In fact, the matrix would actually make it a little bit more difficult. But the balance shards are pretty simple because they're just basically a shard of any type thrown in there with 5 aspects of all the other primal types. So it's not a hard recipe to make, but it's a real big pain in your normal crucible. Whereas this one here does the whole process automatedly, and there's no poison or flux or anything like that involved. So that's kind of nice. Now let's see here. Oh, I also made this, which is the deconstruction table, and it's a real simple machine, really. Really what it's for is if I place something in there, let's say birchwood, it'll break the arbor that's part of birchwood down into primal aspects. Each aspect has an equal chance, but the more times that something can be broken down to a particular aspect, the more times that will happen. So arbor is I want to say life and herba. No, herba and air. Herba, on the other hand, is life and terra, and victus is terra and water. So that means that it has a chance of getting air, it has a chance of getting water, and then it has 2 chances of getting terra. So you're looking at about 50% chance of getting terra. And basically you just dump the thing in there. It doesn't need anything to burn. In fact, it just does everything automatically, and it will do it quite quickly. But this is kind of a random numbers game, so I demonstrated in my other video. The first time it gave me something, it took 32. The next time it only took 12. The next one after that only took 10, so on and so forth. And when it finishes, you can actually see this from outside here because it will have an aspect symbol inside the lens. And then I just click this, and it adds 1 point of research to my book, which, as you can see, I'm not doing very well on some of my research, or on some of my aspects. But this is again one of those things where you should make sure to go ahead and scan everything you make, because you never know how many resources something's going to have there. and the especially anything from Thaumcraft generally has a lot of primal aspects. But I did end up making this because I ran out of well, yeah, I'm pretty sure I ran out of Ordo and I ran out of air initially. Now you see how many it took the last time. I think it burned through like 6 to 8 logs or something like that and gave me a Terra. This time it looks like it only burned through 3 or 4 and gave me an air. So it is totally a random numbers thing. But unfortunately, this does burn through a lot of resources to get you a random chance at the one that you want. So there is that. But on the other hand, if you run out of your primal research, the only way to get more is to scan things you've already made. If you run out of those, then you can try scanning all of your nodes, but all my nodes are way down there, so that's not going to help us very much. And yeah, this is about the third and last resort. Okay, so yeah, I just burned through 23 planks and didn't give me anything. So yeah, like I said, last resort. Now, something to point out is this is going to be useful for us later here, because like I said, like I showed earlier, I can use this to get leather now, which will be really nice. I just need some Fabrico and some Corpus, which I want to say this gives, yeah, this gives enough Corpus in and of itself. It also gives a little bit of Humanus, and actually, I'm sorry, that's Panis, I think? It's hard to remember the names for all the asterisks, guys, sorry. Yeah, Panis. That we can get through a couple different things, basically anything that has string or leather inside of it. Or surprisingly larger number inside of this. It's kind of hard to see there, but according to the book, that's 46 aspects inside one of the alchemical constructs, which is interesting. But there are frankly cheaper ways of doing it. It looks like even string will work. So with this recipe, I could make this with a little bit of string and a zombie flesh. Well, correction, 1 string, 1 zombie flesh should be enough to do it. So I could do that. Now, a lot of my last episode was kind of taken up from, trying to make everything. Last episode, so we still got a few more minutes. Something I want to discuss is, actually, I might have too much now. That's annoying. Let me see, do I have a file in here? I do, okay. Something I want to bring up is occasionally you will have an accident where you have, oh, that must have came back out. Okay. Actually, that's perfect. Occasionally you will have an accident where you will have a jar that has a partial amount of, say in this case, aqua, and then you will have another jar that also has a partial amount of aqua. But in this case, this one does not have enough to put inside of the pile, so I can't transfer it over. This is where one of my favorite things in Tinker's Orthomic Tinkering comes into play. And as you can see, I've kind of unlocked several different things, by the way. And that's mainly because as I was doing alchemy, well, I did mainly researching in alchemy. And I think I did a little bit of artifice. but as I unlocked a few things in there and a few things in Golemancy, that unlocked other things in other areas. I think this was unlocked when I started doing alchemy. I think some of these were unlocked when I unlocked Infusion. These were unlocked when I scanned the Tainted Ball, which I'm not sure if I covered with you guys yet, but I'll go over it again here in just a moment. Haven't unlocked anything with the bees, but there are some things here, like our chemical duplication allows me to get a new quartz duplication recipe. There's something here with the golem core from Golemancy that's going to unlock something eventually. I think it probably ties in with this iron gearbox here, which you can probably make, or probably research, excuse me. Nope, I guess not. But my Essential Duplication and my Infusion both unlock things here. Haven't actually unlocked anything yet. Infusion opened up a few things here. So did Alchemy. So, yeah, as I said, as I've been unlocking basic things, I've been kind of going through these tabs to see if they unlocked anything and researching as necessary. But in Thaumic Tinkering, there is one here that's kind of nice, and it's called an Essentia Funnel. All I need is 2 stone, some thaumium, and that makes me an Essentia Funnel. I'll also need a hopper for this, and a bit of ordo. So let me grab some thaumium here. There we go. Actually, my other one should have that. Yes, it does. Good. And then you have an Essentia Funnel. Now, the downside is I will need to run down and grab a funnel real quick, or a hopper, excuse me. But let me go do that. But I think I went over this with you last episode, but just to be sure, there are some monsters that have random special properties, like vampiric or compressed or something like that. The other day, I killed one that was called Infested. I think it was an Infested Skeleton. And what Infested does is, whenever he was smacked, he would spawn Mind Spiders, which are a Thaumcraft mod that happens when you're insane, really. They don't do a whole lot of damage. They don't take any damage, really. You can punch them and kill them. But they are small enough to fit outside this opening, which is kind of annoying. I ended up killing him, and he ended up dropping this tainted goo, which I thought was odd because I thought only tainted creatures could drop that, but apparently I was wrong. And in case I didn't go over it last time, it also allows me to unlock the taint aspect, which is the one there on the left. When I unlocked that, that opened up a couple other things in my research, and I'm sure it's probably opened up a couple other things that I don't have access to yet. But you need to remember to be careful when holding those, because while they're inside of an inventory like a book bag or a chest, they're fine, but they're inside your actual inventory. It takes about 30 seconds before they dissolve and will try to poison you. So do be careful about that. I seem to be completely out of hoppers, which I find kind of amazing, actually. I thought I had a stockpile of them somewhere. No, guess not. Okay, so it's not a hard recipe by any means. I want to say I had a chest up here. Yeah, there we go. Okay, So you know the hopper is necessary for this. It's not part of the automated process or anything. You do in fact need the hopper to make this work really. In fact, I don't even think you can place down the Essentia part without it. But basically what we can do is I'm going to move this over here actually, for purposes of making sure things are out of the way. Put the hopper down on top of it, and then you need to shift click or shift right click your, there we go, your Essentia funnel on top of it. Now this does count kind of as a whole block, so no other block will be able to be placed there. However, if you have something like this jar of Essentia, which I really should have placed in the other way, but this is a good way of demonstrating it. You just right click here on the rim, and it puts it inside the block, or at least a small version of it. And you can't really tell from there because it doesn't seem to update properly or work with Layla, but this jar is now full of Essentia, or the water Essentia here. And then this one, if I shift right click, I can get back out, and it now only has 2 there. So there's that. One other thing I want to go over is the files of Essentia are basically one-time use. So as soon as I click on this, it's going to disappear. But you can also use it with labels, which are from Vanilla Thaumcraft. And there's basically one for each Essentia. So whole up in 56, I think. Don't think there's, there doesn't appear to be any other uses for it. But what the labels do is they actually restrict things. So if I put, well, correction, let me show you how to make a label first real quick. Labels are not hard, they just require paper, ink, and something sticky usually. But you can also turn any previously labeled something that already has an aspect onto it into a blank one. And like I said, I thought it was usually something sticky, usually a slime ball or glue or something like that, but I'm not sure if I'm wrong or if Infinity Evolved is restricting it just down to a slime ball, which is not something I can easily get a hold of right now. Well, maybe I might have slime slapping somewhere. I'll have to double check that. But anyways, the labels pretty much restrict things. They don't do anything on these pipes here. But if I look back at my alchemy, under the advanced Essentia tubes, you can make filter tubes, and these do work with labels. So you can make it so that tube only does aqua, or whatever the case is. On the other hand, they only have like half the suction. So a restricted tube is basically the last possible place it will go to, which is actually kind of nice in some cases. There's also directional ones that make sure everything go one way, so on and so forth. But yeah, you can also place a label on a jar to make sure that only that sort of aspect goes into it. And we'll get more into why you might want to do that probably next episode. But basically, if you have, well, to come out with it, I'm going to try to make a golem that will kind of do all the sorting for us. Basically, he's going to pull the Essentia out of, actually I think he pulls it straight out of the alembic. Otherwise he'll pull it out of one of the jars. And then he'll move it to one of the jars that are over here on the wall. Prioritizing the ones that have labels over the ones that don't. So that kind of gives him an indication of what goes where. It also makes it a little bit easier to tell the difference between these. I mean, aqua and vitreous here, which is the crystal aspect. are only shades off from each other, so somebody who's colorblind might have trouble seeing them. You can also put them on top on a alembic itself, which is kind of nice in some ways, pains in the other, because basically it will make that alembic only be able to hold that aspect. Now on the bright side, it means that all aspects of that type will go directly to that alembic. So if I place something down here and this was, you know, 4 things tall, which in retrospect I might need to make the ceiling a bit taller, but if this was 4 alembics tall, which is the max it can be, I could place a label on the top one for water. Then all water will come from here and go straight to the top, ignoring all 3 in the middle. Which can be useful if you have some sort of automated process to you know, automatically create things, or if there is a particular aspect that you don't want any more of, you can have it go straight into a into one of the void jars, which there it is. The void jars are also pretty simple to make, except for now it needs under air bottles. That's not in the vanilla recipe. But they have half the suction of a normal jar, and like a normal jar, they have a maximum capacity of 64. But if more essentially is trying to push inside of them, it'll just void off the excess, which is kind of nice because some things like Vitreous and Terra and Herba and Arba in particular, we generally tend to get in vast quantities. And while Aqua and Terra we can use in vast quantities, we don't really have a whole lot of use for Vitreous, Arbor, or Herba. I mean, there are a few things of note, but not very many. So well, I guess it does give us back to pile now. That's interesting. It used to just destroy the pile, so I guess that's not so bad. But that should pretty much catch you guys up now. I think in between this episode and next, which I'm hoping to start making later today, I'm going to try to rearrange this a little bit here and try to optimize this a little bit, because in all honesty, I don't foresee us putting a label on this one in particular. So what I could actually do is come behind here. Oh, that also brings up something else I forgot to bring up. But I can right click to this and connect it to that. So now we have 3 possible jars going from just one alembic. We don't really need the front of it except for that label, so there's no harm in doing that. But I might optimize a couple other things, like I might move this over here and maybe move the infuser someplace a little bit more out of the way. Because I want it fairly close to the furnace, because that's the only reason I really made it, honestly, is for this heating coil here. But it does look a little bit out of place right now. I don't know, we'll see. But I am going to basically set this up as kind of my alchemy hallway here, and got my library. I just need to get some books. And yeah, unfortunately I am going to have to set up another portion of the room for fusion, which is another reason why I'm going to need to raise the roof actually, but that shouldn't be too hard. Fortunately this is just normal cobblestone, so the builder's one should help with that. But yeah, that should get us completely caught up here. So again, my name is Demon Elder. Thanks for looking at my channel. If you have any hints, tips, or suggestions on how to improve this process, or anything you would like to, do hints, tips, etc. for any other process in this series, feel free to leave it in the comments. I am going to be working on improving this process here, and I'm also going to work on setting up something of a basic auto processing here shortly. The only problem I've been having with that is I'm currently running a little low on redstone, so it might be time to get back into agricraft a little bit. Hopefully I can show you the results of that next time. In the meantime, have a good one.